Hey everyone, I'm here today with David Drinkwine, Senior Director of Digital Transformation at Cambay Solutions. David's speaking at M365 Community Days in New York City, where he'll be presenting 10 ways organizations sabotage their Microsoft 365 Copilot rollout. David, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me here.
So listen, let's just go straight into your session, okay? The title, of course, immediately caught my attention because most sessions that you see out there today talk about how to deploy Copilot successfully. You went the opposite direction. Why?
Yeah, exactly. I think that one of the things I've noticed over the last few years, as I've been part of more than 60 different M365 Copilot deployments, is we see a lot of repetitive ways that businesses try and fail to roll out M365 Copilot. So here's our opportunity to explain where we've seen faults in the field and where how to avoid those. So yeah, we're going to show you how to sabotage it, but hopefully along the way we might show you how to fix it as well.
So, without giving away the entire session, what's one mistake that you see organizations making over and over again when they roll out M365 Copilot?
I think it's rolling it out as if it were just any other technology. So one of the things we found is like if in ye olden times before AI, when you rolled out a technology, it'd be like, hey, we're going to roll out a new expenses app, or we're going to roll out a new messaging thing. Those are pretty straightforward. If I can teach people to press buttons in a certain order, right? The way I love to say it is, you press button A, button B, press button C, candy comes out. Okay, I can teach that. Copilot's different. Copilot makes you think. Copilot is, they have to have a different approach to it. So what I see is IT organizations especially are trying to tell people, hey, it's this flashy new technology, where it takes a lot more dedication and effort. Not everybody is as excited about AI as you and I are, Diego. So we are seeing, like Pew Charitable Trust had a release a thing I think it was last week or last month, about 50 to 60% of all business workers in America are afraid of AI. So the problem isn't the tool. We all know the tools are great, but what we see is that organizations try to treat it like it's just another widget, and I think that's a lot of where people fall down.
I think you one of the things that that is different about Copilot than teaching someone, say, how to use SharePoint, how to use like any other tools that we've had in the past is that AI and Copilot has personality. So each person can use in a completely different way. So it's not just this one size fits all for everyone and just roll it out to the organization. Say, hey, here's how you do it. No, like, you know, information workers, people from all different parts will have their own ways of using it that, you end up learning every day as well.
Preach, Brother Silva. You're hitting the nail on the head there. I think again, I'll kind of go back to the problem. I will say the problem is not always it's certainly not the technology. It may not even be the people who are going to be using it. It's the people trying to get people to use it. So here's a good example. HR and accounts payable do different jobs. Why should you try to train them the same way? So what we found, I'll give away the whole session and give you the secret sauce. Um, the problem isn't the tool. The problem is introducing to people, introducing especially M365 Copilot as sort of a big bang, big wow methodology, and that we find that leads to short-term gains. You'll get a really high adoption rate. You'll hit 85, 90% adoption, but then it's going to curve off very quickly because people have day jobs and they don't have time to experiment. They don't have time to learn these new tools, especially if it's kind of an esoteric, you're not 100% sure what you're supposed to be doing. I'm a propeller headed geek. I will get in there and futz with it until I can get something I like. And that's why I use it in every day in every possible way. Not everybody's like that. So what we found is don't teach, don't teach the tool, teach the task. It's about understanding how you can insert AI and M365 Copilot into your processes. We did some work for a financial services organization. I love telling the story, and if any of my clients are listening, they've probably heard this one. But we did some work for a financial services organization that we were brought in by Microsoft and to work with their sales team to uh, to explain why Copilot wasn't helping them. We were trying to help them educate them, and we looked at what they were doing, and it was okay. Create a PowerPoint presentation. Here's how to have it summarize an email. the common things you would teach. And again, these people have day jobs. They've got quotas. They got numbers on their heads. So we started to look at, okay, what processes do they have? We'll evaluate that process. It turns out they were using Salesforce as a CRM tracking tool, and then they were trying to get find targets within that repository, and then they were trying to schedule meetings. They'd schedule meetings, um, and then they would send out action items. And we looked at that process and said, where can Copilot and help? It can help in the evaluation of a target client. It can help in the evaluation and creation of sales materials for that client based upon what we already know about them. It can transcribe the phone call that you get with them, and then it'll put together action items. So instead of teaching them, hey, show Copilot, we said, look, here's a methodology that you can be more effective in. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the initial ask from the IT organization is, how do we measure productivity? We didn't have to do that. They already knew how to measure productivity for this process. It's, how many sales did I get? Nobody cares about how many times you mash the Copilot button. Is, did you get more sales? And the answer was yes. So all of a sudden, we had a team of about 25 true believers in Copilot, because they knew if they could get more meetings and they can get more action items fulfilled, they knew that they would make more money. And boy, oh boy, did they proselytize to the rest of the company. So it made the rollout so much easier after that.
And a lot of times too, I feel like people are only tracking clicks. People are only tracking usage. And with Copilot, your heavy users are not necessarily using it the best way. If you're just using that to pretty up your PowerPoint decks or to do some stuff that you could just be doing on your own, doesn't necessarily mean you're making good use of it. For instance, I'll give you an example of Jared from F Point that we were talking to earlier. He said like he spent about $25 just to format a PowerPoint slideshow. Is that really worth it? Each organization will have to evaluate that, but that's something
Yeah.
too that you have to think about.
Yeah. I think that my callback point you said is button clicks don't matter. One of the things I love to do when we sit down with a new organization, they say, how is this going to affect my productivity? How do I measure this? And the first question I love to ask them is, how do you measure productivity now? And there's two groups of people. There's people who's like, well, I know how to do it in a little bit of it in my company, but there's a lot of people who say, I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know what you're talking about. So how can I tell you how much you're going to improve if you don't know what you're doing? So I think when we get back into the helping people understand how to use Copilot within a process, then it becomes a lot more effective, and also a lot more easy to identify high value targets for this. Because if you're going to insert AI to it, the next question somebody asked me after productivity is, how much is it going to cost? And when you get into agentic AI and more interesting stuff, there's going to be a cost associated with it. So find processes that you can measure. In the words of Adam Savage, the difference between messing around and science is writing it down. That's a paraphrase, but that's close enough. So turn this into science. Write down what people are doing. If you're gonna get, you do this for the organization. Find processes that make sense to insert AI into. Measure it before, measure it after, and then measure if people are happy. Because I'll go back to my previous statement that the challenge isn't the technology; it's the people. If people aren't happy using it and they don't see the value of it, you failed. You will not. You're going to save a lot of money because you can just cancel all your licenses. But the productivity is one aspect of it, but the other thing is you've got to convince people that it's okay to use AI, that it's an asset to them, and they shouldn't feel threatened by it. That last piece is kind of an interesting thing, but we're working against the common gestalt on the internet of people who talk about AI, and there's a lot of folks like us who are true believers and advocates, but there's a lot of people out there that think that AI is the end of the world and it's doom. It's probably somewhere in the middle, but it's depending on what
Right.
people use it for. But the reality is that for your average knowledge work in anywhere, it can be an asset. I just remember the old Jeff Teeper quote is like, AI is not going to take your job, but somebody who knows AI will. And that's definitely the case. That's We don't get to pick. I'm old enough to remember when there was no internet. And I remember when it came along and there was the same discussion. It was like, is this going to change the world? Is it going to put a million billion people out of work? Is it the end of civilization as we know it? Well, maybe. But the bottom line is that it's a change, and people are going to adapt. People adapted to tractors in the fields. People are adapted to having a globally connected world, and they're going to adapt to AI one way or the others.
A lot of people assume Copilot adoption is just mainly a technical challenge, but you're just saying there, people, people, people. So from your experience, would you say that organizational change management plays an even bigger role than any other rollout?
Yeah. So I also want to say that and if you make a chance to come to our session in New York, there's two parts to this. There is a technology aspect to this. There's certainly all the Copilot readiness from a technical standpoint that absolutely must be done. And I've seen rollouts fail because people aren't ready for it. People, there's a lot of stuff that you need to shore up and make sure you understand what's going on. You should probably have data classification. You should probably have labels. You should probably have, the ways to report on things like oversharing or ways to analyze this. And that's part of the reason why we're partnering with Orchestry as we go through this presentation, because they have tools that can help alleviate the technical concerns that you should have going into this. Um, but again, those are technical problems, and computers largely do what you tell them to. People don't. So I absolutely agree that once you get your platform ready, once you understand the impact this is going to have from a security standpoint, from a platform management standpoint, the next part is the hardest part, which is people. So, organizational change management, training, enablement, and a very directed, focused way of rolling this out is the answer. Is that's the secret sauce. The trying to blanket your entire organization with licenses just won't work, because I mentioned before, you see Pew Charitable Trust, you see Gartner, Forrester, these big names in analysis for this are saying 85% of AI initiatives fail, 50% of people are scared of AI technologies. Um, you've got to convince people that a it's okay, and again that it makes sense for them. Yeah, the other thing I've noticed is all these people we talk to who don't want to use AI, they're really good at their jobs. They actually, hey, you go into AP and you're trying to tell them to use AI and Excel. They're like, dude, I've been using Excel for 30 years. I know way more than you will ever know. And you know what? They're right. So I think the challenge they see is, can this help me? Probably they don't see this as a value add. They see this as an impediment, or worst case, they see it as, hey, my company's trying to replace me. So, but by working with them on processes, showing them how they can be more productive, then they now you've got buy-in. Now you've got champions within your organization. I have the joy of delivering the session with Lisa Michelson, who's our OCM lead here at Cambay Solutions, and she can talk your ear off about this stuff. I'm along for the ride at best, but I've definitely seen the impact. The early programs that Microsoft had for 365 rollout was get as many licenses out as quickly as possible. And what we've seen is that doesn't work very well. You have to be slow. You have to be methodical. The ROI on this is bloody spectacular. You'll never see another thing like this in your life, probably. But the challenge is that I'll go back to my original statement. It's just the stuff you knew how to do for rolling out technologies just doesn't work here. So yeah, I think it is an OCM problem.
Right. So one thing that I say to all the time is, particularly when organizations are starting their Copilot rollout, there is this habit of like, oh, let's just give licenses to all of our best friends, and all
Yeah.
managers get a license, but the people who actually need them don't get them, or licenses are given out when you have a limited number, and and then they don't get taken out. So I think it's important too, especially when you're managing a limited number of licenses in your organization, to make sure that every month or every couple of months, every couple of weeks, you have like an evaluation. Say, hey, are these people using these? If not, the bottom users get their license given to someone else, and keep rotating them until you start forming that large mass of users who actually use the thing, right?
Absolutely.
But one question now: if someone is attending M365 New York City and they're either planning a Copilot rollout or they're already struggling with adoption, what is the one thing they can start doing differently on Monday?
I think is focus on solving a problem at a time, not rolling out to a person at a time, or either certainly not rolling out to a broadly without having an idea of what you're trying to solve for. This is a great hammer. You feel like you're looking for a nail, but you've really got to find that nail and have it make sense. Now, there's a process that goes on just about almost to every organization that we worked with. It's that IT does a pilot, and it normally is a bunch of C-level executives, or IT themselves are the worst for this. But there's no time spent in saying, let's find people with a problem that AI can help with. And so these pilots are looking to show effectiveness, and should we roll this out to the entire organization? So I say, no, you don't. You don't need to roll this out to the entire organization, at least not the way you think it is. So find those high value processes where AI can really dig in, and Copilot, the value that Copilot have of knowing everything in your organization. There's a guy I used to work with you who used to call Copilot the overeager intern. Now imagine if you had an intern that would
Good one.
read every one of your emails, every single one of your every document that you had access to, and could give you any answer about that, but wasn't wise. Didn't know what these meant until you asked the question. So, what problems would that overeager intern help with? And that's the
None.
mindset I go into. So, hey, can you reformat this PowerPoint deck? Yes, boss. Let's go get it. Absolutely, you can do that. But if you're just asking it questions and without any direction, um, then yeah, if they're asking directions, excuse me, you're asking questions without any direction, then it's not going to give you the value that you need, and therefore it's going to look like a failure to the powers up and the people who pay for those licenses. So take your time, and find the right problem, solve it for everybody, and you're going to look like a damn hero when it's done. You're like, man, this whole thing that used to take us 6 weeks to do, we can now do in 2. Or hey, our sales numbers increased by 18% because we got more calls. Those are the problems you should try to solve. So um uh, yeah, I'll leave it there. It's a problem is solving a problem, not a person.
Right, and once people see the value, it's like, getting a microwave for the first time. You never get away
Yeah.
from it, right? Um, but what do you hope people walk away really when attending your session?
I think, if anything, that this hair is gray on purpose. It happened that way, because I've earned it. Hopefully, they can take away some of the gray haired wisdom that I've got, and to take a breath, slow down, realize that there's absolutely a laundry list of things you should do, which is manage your security, manage your environment, making sure that you're technically ready. Because the folks we talk to are in a lot of cases are either C-level executives or IT. Hey, tech guys, you know what to do. Go shore up your environment, and then think about people. If they have nothing else, I can say, look, find people who do knowledge work for a living, find the processes they do and help them make it better, and you will win every single time. So that's what,
So, David,
yeah.
amazing, amazing. I think this will be a great session. So I have a final question for you, which is one thing that I like asking everyone.
Okay.
Why do you think community events like the M365 New York City one matter? Like, what do you think makes these events different than larger conferences?
I think it's very easy for folks to get sequestered in their own business. I think it's so there's you don't get to work with your peers very often. The ability to sit down and look at somebody and have a conversation with them over a sandwich or in a session and go, man, that guy does what I do. And now we have a shared vocabulary. We're part of the tribe, man. We are all working together. And those are the moments that I like the most, is when I'm bump into somebody and they're trying to solve a problem I might be able to, or vice versa. So it's there you go. It's welcome to the New York City M365 tribe. I do find that I've been going to this particular event for probably 12 years now, on and off. And it's so great to see a lot of new faces involved because there's always new faces, but it's also great to see these folks who are bringing their knowledge over the years that they've learned from this. So I would love to go back in time to 2008 me when I first started attending these, or actually 2018 I should say, not that old, and just say, hey, look, here's what's coming up. This is the stuff you're going to learn. It's going to be amazing. Go along for the ride. But maybe I can convince somebody, one of the new faces there, that there's a lot of cool stuff to do just by cross pollinating.
I like to say too, if you go to a large event, a large conference, there will be thousands of attendees,
Yeah,
and one speaker to
yeah,
present in front of them. In New York, we're going to have about 50 speakers. It's a much smaller, more intimate event, so you get way more face time with everyone presenting. Like you get to talk to David directly. If you have any questions about Cambay solutions, if you have any questions about his session, you can get to talk to him right after his session. He'll be there all day too, hanging out. So, please make sure you walk up and say hi to him. I absolutely agree that there's so much to be offered in these events. But for those of you who have not registered yet, also don't forget m365nyc.com. It will sell out, guys. So please make sure that you get online and get your tickets. David, any final thoughts? Any last thoughts about the event coming up? Let us know.
yeah. I'm super excited to be there. If you come by, please look. I'll be in this shirt, as a matter of fact, because I got to show my loyalty here. But please come by, and we'll be sharing a booth with Orchestry, and fantastic stuff there as well. But would love to hear your stories. Love to hear your adventures with this. What's working, what's not working, and then let's all share and get better at this.
Amazing, amazing. David, thank you so much once again for taking the time to chat with me. Cambay Solutions is one of our sponsors this year, alongside Orchestry as a partner organization. Thank you both for helping make the M365 Community Days New York City possible. If you're attending M365 in New York City, be sure to catch David's session, 10 Ways Organizations Sabotage Their Microsoft 365 Copilot Rollout. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a really practical session with lessons that you can take back to your organization starting on Monday. So thank you so much once again, David, and see you in New York.
See you there.